What's up, TappN fam? We're back with another Shots O'Clock series where we bring you the insider secrets on the nightlife in your city by sitting down with the stakeholders of the industry itself. Today, we have the pleasure of sitting down with a key player in the Cleveland nightlife currently, known for his passion for fitness, his real estate portfolio, founder and owner of decades here in Cleveland on the East Bank and the Flats. Ladies and gentlemen, Bryan Dahl. Bryan, we appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us.
No problem.
So we're gonna get right into it. I feel like a lot of people know of decades, but they don't know the key factors that go into it. So if you don't mind, give me a little background on yourself. I hear you're a bodybuilder, and so you kind of make fitness part of your lifestyle these days.
I'm not really a bodybuilder. I do, well, I've always been in fitness since my mom worked at the Y. I was in the gym when I was 12. I started doing some competing in men's physique. So it's a
Okay.
little different. It's not really, there's the bodybuilding, um, there's men's physique, men's classic physique, but I'm a smaller guy. So
You spooked me.
more like, more, you know, definition, V taper type of thing.
Okay.
You know,
So
uh,
how'd you get into that originally, if you don't mind me asking?
I well, like I said, I've always worked out. I used to be a trainer. I was watching shows. My ex used to compete, so I used to go watch them, and I just decided to give them a try myself. Something to focus on, and kind of goals for fitness. Keeps me focused a little more. Quit drinking, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nutrition is the hardest part, so
That's what they say.
lifting isn't that bad. It's just the no pizza, like I said.
It requires a lot of discipline. So
Yeah.
with that newfound discipline per se, how have you used that to apply to your entrepreneurial journey or your business journey?
I think it just keeps me more focused
Mm.
than maybe I was before. My life at this point is more just, gym, gym, gym work, business,
Okay.
kids,
That's a nice little balance though.
yeah, yeah, and so it's given me a lot more focus than maybe I had before, and like you said, discipline. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, you wear it well. I appreciate that. So let's talk about decades itself. How or when did the concept come into play?
well, I've kind of had the idea for a while. Back, like I said before, back in the old flats, there was a '70s bar, like you have next door. It was called Have a Nice Day Cafe back then. And there was an '80s bar, it's called The Basement, was a real
Okay.
popular bar back in the day, and, no one I was kinda surprised no one had done anything with that down here, and it was in the back of my mind for a long time. Ultimately, when I bought the Big Bang, I wanted it to work out as what it was, but, um, it just wasn't working out the way that we had hoped.
Okay.
It'd been here for 10 years, and I think it just needed a change. Ours don't usually last 10 years, honestly.
I was just gonna say that the fact
It
that you lasted the 10
Yeah,
years is a testimony in itself.
yeah, so we gave it every shot we could to try and make it work, but in the end, we needed change,
Mm.
and, this was our idea that I had in my mind for it, and, like I said, I gotta give credit to Carly. She, was the designer on it. She designed Ivy as well,
Okay.
so I knew her from bartending here, and she did a great job, so with a lot of
She really did. The,
Yeah.
the nostalgia in here is incredible. I
Yeah.
walked in like I really walked into a time machine.
Yeah, I can't really take credit for, all the ideas. The general idea, but she's the one that came up with all
Okay.
the specifics. So yeah.
So was the flats always in mind? Why the flats specifically?
You mean when I decided to start something like this?
Yes.
You know what? It really wasn't. I was looking for, because I've always been a real estate guy, so that was my main thing, and landlording and flips and stuff like that. And I did some bartending, for fun, mostly on weekends, just to get myself out of the house, really. So I bartended it forward for a while and some other spots, and um, so I was looking for another business venture, and I just kind of came across this bar for sale on the flats. I called it. It happened to be the Big Bang. And I'd come down here all the time.
Right.
I've been in the bar itself all the time. So it was someplace that I hung out a lot already. Um, and, let's face it, is kind of like as far as Cleveland goes, it's like the main stage. So so
I
if
agree.
you're gonna go into a bar, that's you're starting out kind of in the biggest stage.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, and that was kind of the way I wanted it. I didn't really want to do a small mom and pop bar or anything
Okay.
like
Yeah.
back home.
Go big or go home.
Right. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah. So that was kind of how it all came to be, and like I said, we gave Big Bang a run, and it just ended up working out better with Swally.
Okay.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Yeah, yeah. Well, I definitely wish you the best moving forward. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about it that this is the new place to be. So
Yeah,
I'm really excited that you guys have kind of established yourself here and then really taking this new lead.
yeah. So are we. It's really
Yeah.
like fun.
So you talked a little bit about how the bars were back in the day. So you kind of have a very unique perspective because you got to see the old flats
Yeah.
and you're helping curate the new flats. Can you give me a bit of the comparison of the two?
Uh, yeah. The old flats was it was just really old warehouse buildings. It was a lot. Things were a lot crazier back then. You could get away with a lot more. So it was like I said, like a lot of people said, well, why don't you just redo? Why don't you just bring the basement back? And I had thought about that for a minute, but I don't know, this day and age, you can't really have people dancing on washers and dryers. It's just, you get sued left and right. So
Right.
I just didn't think it would work the way it did back then. But it was an amazing idea back then. But I don't think it would. I don't think I could quite do it the way they had it set up back. It was just washers and dryers and Christmas lights. It was just a fun place. But that's kinda where the places were back then. They were just it was mostly all old warehouses, nothing expensive or flashy. It was you had a bunch of different bars, the Gafagans, the Beach Club. I mean, there were just tons of 'em. More bars back then.
Okay.
It's starting to become that way down here now, but, I mean, it was just all bars. There really wasn't, any fancy restaurants or anything like that.
Yeah.
So now it's newer, more modern, redone, the condos, that kinda thing. I don't really remember anything like that back then.
Not at all.
No.
Especially not East Bank. West Bank
No.
was really where it was, and East Bank was still kind of in the thought or development
Yeah,
phase.
yeah. Really, I mean, across the river, it really hasn't I don't know, it really hasn't changed a whole lot.
I'm curious to see what it does in the next few
That's
years.
a powerhouse back then.
Right.
And they had an old piano bar called Howl at the Moon,
Okay.
and a couple things like that across the river, but, it was shooters and, really a lot of stuff that's still there, it's except for a few things, Metropolis and that kinda thing.
Right, right. Mirage and see.
Yeah. So, but this was I think the biggest change has been right here.
Mm,
So,
I couldn't agree more.
uh,
So creating this nostalgic experience, how do you balance nostalgia with, staying hip with the modern times per se?
uh, well, we try and, 'cause, we have a theme here, so, we try to keep to it as
Okay.
much as we can, but at the same time, people wanna hear the modern stuff.
Right, right.
And so our platform is kinda, if you stray off the theme, just make sure you come right back to it. So,
Okay.
we wanna try and stay within the theme of what we are, and, I think, I don't know, I think nostalgia kinda has its different views, so, um, however you wanna look at it, but, I think we've kinda done that, so it's been something different,
Mhm.
I think. I don't think we're really like anybody else down here, which is it's what we wanted, so,
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
we didn't even though I know some people think, um, the theme is similar to next door, it's really not. Um, you know, I it's like I said, there's always different 70s, 80s bars,
Right.
different time, different design. Is nothing like next door. So, and that was what we wanted, for it to be. We wanted it to be something different, and at the same time, something nice. We didn't really do like um, how you say like the old 80s bar was, with washers and dryers, stuff like that. We kind of made it more of a classier.
Classy, yeah.
Yeah, it's what we
Absolutely.
wanted, with what we like. So,
While still keeping that old school feel.
yeah, exactly.
Well, you have a lot of nostalgia here, a lot of cassettes, CDs, things from the 80s and 90s. How does that era relate to you personally?
Well, I grew up in it, so, that was another reason, that it was so appealing to me because that was my time. I was, for those of us that grew up in the '80s, even before I did this, I'd always post up about the '80s, so, It was just a different time back then. But I that was my heyday. So all the music and stuff that you know we play here, a lot of it, I came up even the '90s. So '80s was more high school, '90s was more college for me. But I lived through all of it. So that was kind of our heyday.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So shifting from bodybuilding to real estate to owning a bar, how has been the learning the business side of it? The struggles, any surprises?
It's yeah, it's been a learning curve. Yeah, but I'm lucky. I have a really good GM.
Okay.
Tara's been great. I couldn't do this, without her. She stayed on when I bought Big Bang. She's been amazing, and all the staff here really. Because this place has always been really tight knit.
Mm.
When it was Big Bang, you'll find that most of the people that are here honestly have been here almost since the beginning.
Okay.
So we're all really close, the business side of it, I've always been in business to some degree. Um, mostly been real estate. I owned a Geppetto's for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, but they used to be pretty big back. Now it's like two or three of them around. I don't know what happened to them really, but back then, I owned one for a while, and so I've always been in something like that. Um, and then this was just kind of learning. I did the bartending, so I got a feel of it, but never from the managerial,
Mm.
aspect. So I've learned a lot as I've been here. And I'm not gonna lie, Tara does a lot of the managerial stuff,
Okay.
and I kind of pick up some of it as I go. Help where I can. So, um, but we work well together. So
That's all you could ask for most times. Yeah. So you had your official grand release, I believe March 1st it was?
yeah.
Grand opening rather. How do you guys go about your approach to marketing? You have a marketing team? Or are you leaning more on social media these days?
We have we have someone that does our Instagram that
Okay.
we focus a lot on social media. Yeah, we do. We do some other things though too, like stuff like this. And then we did some radio ads for a while, a little bit on I believe it was 104.
Mm,
They had an '80s program on Fridays, so it was perfect fit. So we
mm.
before we launched, we did a little bit of radio on there. Um, and we do obviously some advertising on like Instagram and social media platforms as far as like pop-ups and stuff like that. Um, Website obviously we're working on right now. We had to redo, but that should be out in a week or so. Um, and yeah, that's the biggest thing is social media.
Social media?
Yeah,
Yeah. These days it's important for
it
sure.
is. I mean, I've tried everything. Honestly, over the span that it was Big Bang, we tried radio, we tried different advertising platforms that really do just about the same thing as boosting your ads on Instagram. But we tried a little bit of everything, and really, the main thing that always worked well is just doing good on social media.
Yeah,
So that's
and word of mouth, word of mouth. I've heard more
well,
talking about you guys, here and there in passing. This is the new space to be.
well, the good thing about being down here is everybody sees it. So I
Okay.
mean, the walk by traffic and everything, and you really, I mean, once you're down here, everybody knows you're here. The sign and everything, and everybody knew what we were doing. I think because we tried to get it out there as much
Mm.
as we could with the banners and stuff we had up front, and just let everybody know that we were changing. And even the piano show, honestly, has gotten a lot of people from Big Bang. We made sure they all knew that we were still doing the
Okay.
show. It's earlier, so
Right. That's awesome though, because you still keep your old
yeah,
clientele
yeah,
while merging with this
yeah.
newer market.
And most of them have embraced it. They've all of them have been here. It's so we even use our old Big Bang platform a little bit,
Okay.
just brought when we're doing shows
Right,
here.
right.
So because it is that crowd, so and it's helped a lot. Start off the night strong, so.
So you talked about a little bit about keeping the theme and ensuring that those involved are keeping that theme. How do you go about securing the talent from the DJs to the promoters? Do you have I don't say a vetting process, but you have your people
Well,
through?
it's been a little bit of trial and error. I mean, with the DJs,
Mhm.
um, nobody down here really has like an '80s bar, so it really wasn't anyone to pick from. Right. There were some, we actually picked some people from that actually had played at the basement. They're straight out. And we had a guy or two from that still DJ, and they came in. But it's just been kind of a trial and error to see who can, um, fit their um, mold into what we are looking for as far as music platform and everything. And so far, we found a lot of good options. Really, I mean, everyone's been good. So,
Awesome.
and I have a guy that does the scheduling for the DJs.
Okay.
His name's Zach. Um, he's a DJ himself, but he does the scheduling, and and yeah, we found a good rotation of what we think fits. As far as the musician goes, it's the same musicians that were here for Big Bang. Really hasn't changed. So, same group that was playing when it was Big Bang is the same group that plays here now. So,
That's beautiful.
we didn't have to do much there. They just basically um changed their. I mean, honestly, most of the stuff they played, a lot of it was
It was already 80 ready.
yeah, really. I mean, a lot of the piano music, like Piano Man, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Back when real musicians were really
Yeah, that's all 80s stuff anyway. But they just conformed it a little more to be all 80s, 90s, yeah, so it's a little different. There's dancing now for the piano show, and not all tables and stuff,
Right.
but same idea.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I've been hearing a lot of conversation about, I don't say surge in pricing, but the variations in pricing throughout. If you don't mind me asking, do you find yourself, I don't know if there's an industry standard, but do you find yourself having to compete with some of your neighboring facilities?
Price wise, I mean, I think you're always doing that, but I mean, I obviously we check out what everyone else's prices are just as much as they probably would check
Check
out.
out yours.
So, we basically just stay within the. I mean, it's not cheap to come down to the flats. I think anybody knows that parking's expensive. The drinks are a little more expensive, but you don't really come down here um, for the drinks. You really come down here for the experience. And someone once told me that actually one of the owners down here. I remember I went into a meeting, and he'd always pull out a bottle of Tito's, and he would say this thing costs $30 in the store. People aren't coming here for this. They're paying $250 for it when they come here. They're coming here for the experience. If you don't give them the experience, then they're not going to come back. Because at the end of the day, they're not coming to buy the alcohol, even though you're buying alcohol. It's not why you come here. So,
That's very well put. I appreciate that perspective.
yeah, so if you look at it that way, and I try to convey that to everyone here, that's the kind of thing that we have to give the people that come here. So that's what we try to be.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I've got a couple more questions in closing. Do you have any advice for upcoming entrepreneurs looking to get into the business aspect of a nightlife?
Be patient. Oh yeah, be patient. It's not. I didn't really know what to expect, but it's challenging, especially being down here because the overhead is so high.
Yeah.
It's so you can have your ups and downs, um, and it can get frustrating. Just stick with it, and you know, and like I said, the summertime is the heyday down here. So of course, going through the winters is the challenge.
That's trial and error.
So yeah, so like I said, just be patient. I think is probably the best advice I can give, and be dedicated to whatever your idea is. And not everything's gonna work. You can't. Some things don't work. And you try some, and um, I think probably what most people say is the biggest difference between people that succeed is when they fail, they try. They get back up, they try again. So not always gonna win. You're gonna have some losses along the way. So
Wisdom.
Lord knows I've had some. So.
Uh, well, what hope do you have for the legacy of decades? Where do you see it in the next 5 to 10 years?
Ah, God. You know what? You never know where things can go. I mean, you like to say that, hey, maybe you'd like to see it emerge in other cities. Maybe it becomes a little more of just a Cleveland thing, and maybe it takes off to the point that you can branch out to other locations or something like that.
Franchise.
Yeah, I guess everybody has those kinds of aspirations, right? When you get started in this, but for right now, I'd just be happy to see this place take off and go where we want it to go. And, and over the next 5 years, we always want to keep doing some different things to try and, improve the experience for everyone that's coming. You can't really be stagnant when it comes to, you know, clubs. You always got to try and do something different, keep people interested, remodel or add things here and there, to just keep it fun. So we keep trying to do that. So.
I've got last two questions. If you were to throw your dream event here at Decades, what's playing, who's performing, who's invited?
Ugh, God.
Not to put you on the spot.
Oh man. Um, Dream event, huh? Everybody gonna laugh at me for this, but I was always an '80s hairband guy. All my friends, they'll be laughing at this too because it was always the case. But yeah, if I could have Bon Jovi on the stage, that
Ooh. Okay.
it's always a big Bon Jovi.
Right, right.
Even though he can't really sing anymore, his voice is screwed up. But
But to have the nostalgia of having him.
yeah, every time they come, I'd always be the first one getting tickets. So
Okay.
yeah, so yeah,
I'd love to see that.
yeah.
I wish that for you for sure.
Don't think that'll happen.
All right, and lastly, how would you describe Decades in 3 words or less?
Um, yeah, that's probably tough for 3 words or less. Hmm, a new beginning.
Ooh.
Yeah, took me a minute to think about that.
No, I like that though. Very well said. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you tapping in with us. Be sure to check out Decades, follow along with Bryan Dahl, and be sure to tap in with us here at TappN.